Hi guys, Sullivan here in Philadelphia. I know it's been a little while since I made a video, but I've been really enjoying seeing a few other gardening YouTubers just kind of taking a walk around their garden every week. I do walk around my garden every single day, but I don't think I can get a posted video tour every week done. But I thought we would try that today with the added bonus of been looking through old footage of all the renovations over the last 3.5, 4 years. And I think as we catch certain views around the garden, I might put up some stills or maybe video clips if I can access them easily to show you like kind of how far it's come. One, because I am proud, but two, because I am struggling with just a lot of projects, a lot of work, and feeling like completely overwhelmed, like I think a lot of people do, between weeding and still trying to get mulch done so that we weeded and now the weeds are coming back, and just still a lot of cleanup to do. Haven't done anything with the bulb foliage. It's, I like to show everything as it is. So there's a lot of good. There's a few bad, and there's definitely some ugly in terms of some cleanup that still needs to happen. But I thought we would start by taking a walk outside the fence, because that's usually what I do. I do a lap. I'm on a corner. So we're going to walk around, see the outside of the fence gardens, and then start up at the front gate. All right, let's go. So it's definitely looking really lush and beautiful out here, but I never got to cut down. Oh, got some big weed starting there. So number one, haven't had a chance to cut down the old grass and stuff before the new grass came up, so that's why things are a bit of a mess. And then there actually are a lot of iris out here. I tend to put the bonus iris that the vendors I buy from give me out here if they're not quite in my color scheme. So you'll see them kind of, geranium's looking good. But yeah, I did some cleanup on the front side, but never got around to back here. But it is looking very full. We haven't had to weed as much. But yeah, you can see it's just growing over on top, and I think this butterfly bush maybe pulled itself out of the ground. So be checking that. Yeah, this one I quite liked. I don't know if it has a place inside yet, but maybe it'll move into a color story. Yeah, gonna have to clean that up or the anemones will drown. Looks like the echinacea's coming back. That's good. This is Echinacea pallida, one of the natives. But yeah, the problem I have with cleanup is that I just don't have, a lot of storage space for trash and debris, and we don't have, it's not easy to do the lawn bags because then it's been raining so much. So I'm hoping the guys that help me with my mulch will do some cleanup out here before they mulch everything. That's a Grace smoke tree. It's very Dr. Seussical, and I quite like it. But I'm gonna hope that it starts to fill in a little bit lower. I think this is a weed elm. Yeah, those have deep tap roots. That's gonna be a lot. We planted some lavender up here for Tim. It looks like it's happy. I'm discovering that a real key to some of the plants that I've struggled with in the past is planting on the slopes where I can. It helps so much with drainage and preventing things from getting soggy feet. So yeah, I'll show you a few places where things that normally are a little tough are thriving. The mint's really taking over. I'm actually in the process of trying to eradicate it from anywhere inside the fence. Looks like we've got, this is funny, there's brown sugar dahlias in here, and it looks like I had planted something called an echinacea like 3 years ago up here, and that might be coming back. I have no idea. We'll see. Happy euphorbia. All my 9-barks have mildew problems this year. But yeah, filling in nicely. That willow is needing a hard prune at some point. Probably time to divide. I'll have to look it up. I know it's something, it's a Persicaria polymorpha? We'll see. You'll see in the caption if I'm right. Oh, a native Baptisia. This butterfly bush needs to be cut back hard and pulled back. I don't even think I can get it in the frame. It's getting precarious on its perch. We plant really shallow here because the roots of this big white pine are all through here. It might just be too much competition for things. Nothing seems to really thrive in that spot. All right, let's head inside. So, things have filled in very nicely up here, but I have lost almost everything that had any kind of height. So, while it's nice to see this looking so full and everything coming back, I've lost a lot of height back here. I had tried some apple blossom clematis, but they're borderline for my zone. They're 7B. I'm 7B most of the time, but if we get one of those really bitter cold snaps, you tend to lose anything slightly fragile, and they are gone, and they're a little too expensive to just keep trying them. But so yeah, I think this looks pretty, but it's all kind of one level, except this ginormous self-seeding foxglove. There's some peonies in here that are really happy, but one of the peonies is very unhappy here. So I will be relocating some peonies in the fall. So let's stick to this side before we look over this way. Just filled in the planters. Can't say I really had a plan. And then it got really hot, so things are struggling a little bit. This is one of those areas that I have the before shots of. and I am happy with how this is all turning out. You know, getting a little more height on some of the abelia. I just found the right places for these Japanese maples. I think they've been in place now maybe 2 years, but you know, this area still doesn't have irrigation. So I think once they get a little more water over here, they'll really take off. It looks like something did not come back here. There is some ajuga, so I'll be looking through my plant stash to see what I have to fill up here. But for the most part, again, everything's feeling kind of one level, but I think it'll get there. Oh, I'm not leaving these here, but I did a little experiment that probably warrants like a 5-minute video. I ordered a bunch of side tables and pedestals from Amazon because they can be pretty hard to find, and they were rather reasonably priced. I don't think I paid more than 80 bucks for anything, and I really like these, so I'm mostly planning to use them as plant stands around the garden, but they all got delivered to the front door, so I left them here. And they're like a fiber concrete. Oh yeah, so it looks like the abelia are wanting to take off, though. I think we have a dead branch back there. Finally getting some crawling with my climbing hydrangea. I had to fix the stakes and do a little damage to get it up on the fence. But yeah. Weed pressure up here is definitely not as bad as the more open places, so I think this is kind of like a level of density that keeps down weeds and lets things really be themselves. I have a before shot of this smoke tree from when I just planted it. If you're familiar with this year's project, you know that things sort of dead end here. I have been, well, let's walk past this, so we'll come back. So I have been working on the wisteria. Let me back up a little. So I'm working on creating a different structure for the wisteria. So I cut this back very, very hard and cleaned this one up. And I actually was able to take a bunch of like adventitious roots off of that. This is one plant and it was just going wild. And I replaced it on the other side. So I have to figure out what type of bracket I want to do for the pipes across. And then I'll spend the rest of this growing season, you know, the flowers are less important. We're just going to try to get it growing in the right direction. But it recovered nicely from a lot of manhandling. It actually had climbed all the way up to, oh, you can kind of see it up there. So I was up on the ladder. Then I can barely move this ladder by myself, so I have a habit of leaving it up. But haven't made much progress here in the future rose garden. So this was all kind of cleaned up when I was fixing the wisteria. I have some room. I'm starting to shape the lilac to frame the window. That is now 5 years old. And my newer ones, if you're new here, I had a beautiful inherited lilac here, and it died 2 winters ago. So I replaced it with, this is President Gravy. They were pretty small, and I have Beauty of Moscow on the other side, so I'm not cutting from them or training them until they get a little more established. Like I let Miss Kim get, let's try to, okay, there we go. So I let Miss Kim grow, like, you know, 4 or 5 really solid stems, pulled the rest of the suckers, cut a few things down, and started working on shaping it. We want it to fill up above the window and then kind of reach in and fill in this space behind the boxwoods, which I have never trimmed, and I quite like them. They've really grown together in their nice little cloud formation. So Present Gravy's growing a little bit wonky right now, but I don't really want to do anything. I'm going to wait till this branch gets a little more height on it, and then I'll probably push this one this way and this one that way. Again, no real plan for the planters. They get more shade up here than I'm used to. But I rarely like the cheesy named colocaceas or alocasias, but I like that one. I think it was called Heart to Heart. So same with this lilac. Actually, it would be so awesome if I could reverse them. So I'll have to get in there before they really harden off for the fall and see what I can do. But I'd like it to go up here and then over. Mirrored boxwood planting, Korean spice viburnum. Next year will be its 3rd year in this spot, and I think it will take off this way. It needed some recovery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sad little spears of baptisia. The magnolia, this is a royal blush centennial blush magnolia that I'm not espaliering, but keeping trimmed flat at the back and trying to get it to go up. Goal would be to hit 2nd story window eventually with a little more open space down at the bottom, but I don't cut hard from it. Everything's looking nice and pretty in this area. Have some 3D printing discard stuff. Sometimes I have to take it out. I've been shooting and filming a lot for my upcoming vase collection. So I have that's a light, like a blackout liner, so that too much light doesn't come in behind the backdrops. I'm gonna have to do a little work up here. I like the fennel that just pops up everywhere. These iris need some attention, and I think I've lost some things in here. So I'll be looking for more low maintenance, grassy type of texture, work on making, I think that little low spot might be collecting some water. So, so this is a lindera, just a native lindera spice bush, and I have another one of those as an option for this corner, or I bought 4 new lilacs, maybe 6. We'll see when we get to the plant stash. So I'm considering possibly moving that. There's a little tiny wine 9 bark back there, removing that and maybe doing 3 different lilacs to kind of fill this space, because they'll like the heat from the fence. They'll be beautiful in color. And a lot of the summer flowers in this bed are peachy. In fall, they turn a little more pink and purple. So I think the lilacs would be like a nice contrast for the early spring. Heading this way, I put in a bunch of new iris in July. I have 2 peonies here. I might have to put a 3rd up here to kind of fill in some of these space. These are intersectional. I think I have another intersectional that would look good up here, just to kind of round out a trio and start to make things feel a little more cohesive. These are some of the first gardens I planted on the property, and I didn't know as much about how to kind of make bigger drifts of things. We're pretty much the tail end of iris up here. These are the last peonies. I think that's bowl of cream. They're kind of tiny this year, but they have some competition. It got really hot right away, and they're not staked or anything. And I don't feed or do anything in particular to them. So looks like I got a few weeds back there to clean up. This is a pagoda dogwood. It's the branded one from Proven Winners. It was tiny when I planted it. It's happy. I will say though, I don't love that it's a twin trunk. I don't love the two uprights. I would rather it be 3 or 1, but it is so pretty and airy and kind of interesting that I don't mess with it. But almost everything here is coming back. Got a lot of shade-loving stuff. Tiarella, epimediums, ferns, brunnera, September anemones, Sun King Aurelia. So Sun King Aurelia, camellia that's finally settled into its home. In this area, I plant a lot on top of plants because a lot of this is has completely died back in early spring. So I don't always know, but I am going to do some work now that the peonies are finally totally ending. I'm going to do some work to thin them out a little, clean up dead foliage, sort of try to spread them around in some of these empty spaces since they have been doing really well here. So this is definitely a view that I have many befores of and have always loved to look at and work on. I had always hoped, because my garden is so wide open, to create this kind of magical hidden corner, even though from the other view it's wide open. And it really is working well. Some thalictrums, a lot of shade-loving stuff, some hydrangeas and things, a lot of toad lily. Toad lily could probably be thinned out this year. It looks like the shady hydrangeas are starting to really fill in. Yeah, this thing really needs a big cutback. But I do like it. It's like a giant fuzzy cloud. All right, so we won't go that way yet because Tim's being nice and washing my car for me. We'll come back and look at that. So I've been filming all the iris all season. We still have blooms, though it's probably time to cut bloom stalks and do some deadheading everywhere. I will say that the island, after last year's project and renovation, is looking really good. It looked really happy this year. Squirrels planting trees for me. I've been finding those everywhere. I had actually done the planters early, and I'm going to try to keep the mostly blue with golden color palette carried through. I did that in part because I had lots of plants, because I did planters for a listing of Tim's, but also because last year I did everything in this area in the same color palette, and I thought it could use a little contrast because this butterscotch Amsonia does obviously have blue flowers. So it's been kind of cool. So over this way, Whew. Cor Louise, usually the last intersectional peony to bloom. It's getting a little crowded back here. And some weeds to take care of. These Patty's Plum poppies, boy, that's a tongue twister. They were doing so great, and then we had all this rain, and they just got beat up. But I think these are doing okay. There's a few back there that I need to get pulled out. But this is what I was saying. I have like a high spot and things kind of roll this way. And everywhere that some of these like deeply rooted perennials that sometimes just disappear from root rot, these are the types of spots that I need to look for. I think I planted these pansies 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. Just keep coming back. Iris, looks like we've got some volunteer Nicotiana. There hasn't been Nicotiana in this bed in 4 years. Got Betty White. She's gonna move to a new spot in the rose garden this year because something that between the tree and some of the iris around here, she does not run, her lower half does not respond well to being crowded. I'm gonna be doing a big thinning of Friendly Advice. It's one of my favorite irises. Great colors, little blue, little gray, little peach, great beards, bicolor beards. It's obviously very happy here, but I don't need this many. I think I've just made friends with a new local flower grower, and I think she's gonna take some of my bridal colored stuff. But yeah, all the iris in here need some thinning. The problem is they're a little hard to identify, so I probably need to come out here and put some tags on some things. My peonies are also getting a little crowded back here from the iris, so that's another motivation. But it looks like Summer Glow, a lot of side buds. This is one of those like nothing plants, like it has just stems that grow blooms. There's no other stem to it. And then I was kind of shocked, let's see if I can get back here with all the daffodil foliage. I was kind of shocked to see this the other day. I think this is Solange. I'll have to look at the list. But it smells good, whatever it is. Yeah, just threw up a bunch of massive blooms. That's a shade-loving climbing rose back there. Really pretty. But yeah, you can see there's just the iris are everywhere, growing among the roses, which totally, this was the concept. But this is Bliss Parfuma. She's definitely bigger than they said she would get. So I am keeping many of the roses that I have already in their beds. But what I have to do is after I get a few flowers off of them, I'm going to cut them back hard, pull them out, and find better, further back spaces for them. Because right now, well, let's do this side of the island first. So over here we have, I've tried many different climbing roses. Back here, iris, happy iris. I'm just got a rose to plant there. The Ash Wednesdays, there's 2 of them. They were absolutely beautiful this year. Let's see, popped some poppies and Lysianthus into the island, just because I like using these open spaces to try different things. Looks like we got some poppies back there. It might be a little too shady back here for them. More planters, phlox, some of the darker tones at the back of this bed. That rose looks very happy with its that screen arch to climb up. I was happy that these found their right home. Some little hydrangeas, the tail end for a lot of these iris. I think this is Cinco de Mayo rose. It likes its new home. I think this is called Smoking Aces. It's really pretty. Strawberries and champagne. Yeah, this did fill in really nicely. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the Astrantia because it's a little light. I thought it was the darker one, but it's happy. Got some Queen Anne's lace and things, self-sewing, miniature roses. We missed their blooms. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3 Bliss Parfuma, 1, 2, 3 Belinda's Blush. Both bigger than I thought they would be. Oh, magnolia blooms. That's why it smells so nice over here. I'll get the drone for those. Covered in flowers. They didn't respond well to a lot of the rain. Both very pretty, but need a little more control in their pruning. Back up a little bit for you. So I started working on this area last year by adding in some sanguisorbas that I had found. And I bought a lot of small plants this year from Digging Dog. And a lot of them went in here. And as much as I will eventually cut these pieces off, I try not to cut them until I actually need them for flower arranging. So, but yeah, very Dr. Seuss, this smoke tree. I hope it will eventually get some branches down here. I'm gonna have to look into it. I might have to give it like a hard chop to get it to start generating some growth in this middle level. It's either really low or really high. So yeah, pretty happy with how the island worked this year with the just permanent plantings. Looking for something to put in here. Poppies. I thought that's just crazy. An iris that I seem to have in 4 different places, so I'm probably gonna consolidate them. These are both Sonoma Floozy and I think Sonoma Apricot. They were both lovely this year. But I do like how the interplay of colors in this area is happening. I know I say this each year, but I do feel like I've struggled to explain how I put my gardens together, but I think you can start to see I'm trying to design the garden so it looks like a flower arrangement across the landscape. So you've got, that's why there's similar feelings and then contrast, and echoes and repeats. Very happy Lion's Fairy Tale rose. There's the rose we fixed in the island renovation video. It's nice, it's growing up. It gave that Mount Airy Father Gila a chance to grow. Looks like we're getting some flowers on this other one. The anemones that just keep coming back in this area were awesome. Or maybe this is Anastasia. And this is Lion's Fairy Tale. I, of course, don't have labels on them. So here's a bed, I guess. You can see all that debris and the shovel back there and that big pile of stuff in the center. So there's, oh, I still see a little of it. There's mountain mint that was all in here. And it was smothering and killing these iris and these Coco Loco roses. And that Coco Loco rose had actually not flowered in like 2 years. The roses are actually not going to stay here, but I needed to free them from the mountain mint. So I think mountain mint is great when you have places you can let it go. Like outside the fence, I don't mind because it's easy enough to rip it out if it's out there. But in here, it grew so prolifically all through this open soil with its runners that these two peonies are the same age. 1 tree peony, 2 tree peony. This one had a lot of mountain mint around it. That one was exempt for some reason. So that's what it was doing. I mean, I definitely plant things close together, but it's too much for plants. So. The alliums all come back. This iris is pretty awesome. It's got a label, but I don't think it's Beachy Queen. That's a big project for the iris video and the iris season this year. I've lost a lot of labels for things, and I need to start identifying them, especially if I'm going to be thinning them out and maybe passing some of them on. Munstead Woods, wow, it looks very neon now. It was really moody and dark a few weeks ago. So actually these are so thorny that to move them, I'm gonna have to basically like chop them back to the ground. But I am going to rescue that little Ito peony, and I'm going to work the Munstead Woods back into the open space and reconfigure some things. So there is a lot of reworking to do this year. It's not that it's not good or bad or whatever. It's just that now that the beds are the sizes I think they're going to stay, it's time to make sure, like, to kind of work on perfecting the placement. Like, I planted all of this in the fall. Got an agastache, a nepeta, some sanguisorba, an iris, and an echinacea. I can't remember which one. Like, I like having the iris popped through it, but that's not the right iris. This is a high maintenance rose, Julia's rose. I've had bad luck with it in a few different places. These are my last 4 plants. If these don't make it, it's not gonna stay. I don't have really space in my life for high maintenance stuff. So yeah, eventually that void back there, maybe I'll just put Munstead Woods back there because I never really kind of need to walk to the crepe myrtle or anything back there. Though I do like to cut from those tea olives. But yeah, they are beautiful and huge and a great color. They're just so thorny. They do not need to be like front and mid border. Not at all. Same, found a peony in there. There's 3 little roses in there that need a rescue. And, you know, I have all this space. So there was always part of the plan to start moving things forward. All the foxgloves self-sowed. I like how multi-colored they are, and they do look kind of awesome with the last couple of brain teaser iris. Phyllicterum back there came back as a nice drift. forget which iris is this. Oh, this is mountain laurel. This needs to get cleaned up. The blooms were pretty, but again, needing dividing, needing thinning. Some anemones, some catmints that were too big for their spot. These are lavender lisianthus in there, but they're getting a little weedy. I have these 3 giant Blue Fortune agastache in here. They gotta go. They can go somewhere, but they gotta go way back. They get like 6 feet tall. That is plumb perfect. So Philly, that height, that shape, that's what needs to happen over there with a rose. That's nice and back enough that something really tall can still grow behind it, but is not attacking the plants around it and in front of it. These were new to me this year. This is Tiva, a butterfly ranunculus in a lavender color. I find, I'll tell you, I guess when we get over here a little bit more, I'll tell you that I have left all the ranunculus I've ever planted and anemones in the ground. And I would say with these fancy pants ones, they come back better the next year. I don't feed them or do some of the things you're supposed to do. Well, that's a really pretty rose. So yeah, just a lot of room to start filling things in, moving things around. Most of the roses that we're gonna see, I think that one's gonna stay, but that's State of Grace, Distant Drums, Princess Charlene. Those are coming to the rose garden because I do want to take this bed in a more, like the colors of the Southern Charm verbascum here. There's a lot of interesting purple, lavender toned, gray, brown iris through here. And I like how they look with the deodar cedar, but you know, things have to come forward a bit. And all the verbascum just came back from seed. And I'm trying to think of what perennial I can do back there, kind of behind and around the drip line at the back of the cedar that will give me, I'd like to do like a Russian sage, but I think it might be too shady back there. Puffed cotton peony. I think these are first year blooms. These were planted just last fall. Brother Chuck. There's a new tree peony in here. No blooms this year. Milky Way. All the dahlias from last year seem to, at least about 50% of them seems to be coming back. So that's pretty cool. The distant drums look a little raggedy. I just freed them from some evergreen. They are moving to the rose garden, so, because this is not the spot for them. And I had one plant die back and it just sprouted its graft flowers, so I got rid of that. So I think I talked in the rose video about how roses of this height, I'd like to try to figure out how to get them more horizontal, because you can't really see the flowers. I'm 5'5", 5'4.5", really. And it just seems like the blooms are all like nice and upright, but I'd like to see them kind of stretching across. So, definitely lots of work in progress still in here. It looks like we have dahlias coming up everywhere. I am very happy to see These were rather expensive lupins. Salmon Star. I got them as bare root plants. And a bunch of them came back. This rose is not happy. This is Medallion. I gotta say, I'm not sure I like this one. Not sure it's staying. Can only give things so long. And if it's gonna look like that, I can't have that. It's not doing anything. It's not attractive. Oh, it getting windy. This is Uptown Girl. So, I had planted bare root poppies all through here and all through here. And where everything gets a little bit low, under Princess Charlene, we have this like kind of low spot. They all died. So again, I think the key is planting them above low spots. Even if it's subtle, it seems like wherever you can get them with some help with the drainage, they're gonna do okay. So, sweet peas needing to be tied up, some cut flower stuff. I just redid the strawberry planters, adding another planter group, snap, stock, nasturtiums, trying to identify the iris in here. This is Sergei, been looking for this one. These are exactly the kind of weirdo colors I love. So pretty. Lettuce and weeds. Happy with how this is all. Well, let me get away from the tomato trellis. Yeah, this is nice and full. Lost a few things back here. Pine's happy. Raspberries in the planters probably need some water. This one rescued from the mountain mint, so I have to figure out what it is. Midnight Oil, Monarda. Flowers are okay. Foliage in the fall is amazing. This grass, Carex pennsylvanica, I think. Yeah, but just, slowly filling things in. Yeah. Lots of shade loving big leaf hydrangeas. Hellebores, columbines, pulmonaria. And where we start to get a little sunnier, I put in this trio of white frost, an inexpensive white herbaceous peony that I like. I have a different black and white variety of peony here, some darker toned iris, some astrantia. This I think is, forgive me for saying it out loud, called Vanilla Gorilla. I have to rescue a tree peony from back there. The one Loropetalum that looks really good. This is what I'm talking about. Here's a bunch of oriental poppies that are thriving, and the water just runs downhill from them. Because I thought last year they were great, and I thought it was because we had such a dry spring. This year it's been raining like crazy, and they're still good. Some fall plants. So yeah. So very happy. Some room to do some cleanup. Definitely need to move the iris down the hill a bit. Penstemon just takes over. I think I need to do a better job of pulling out the volunteers that I don't want. earlier in the season. Amethyst and Snow Bachelor Button, perfect for this spot. Happy Bees. It actually held pretty well in a vase. So some work on this whole level of iris in here now that we have the space down here. I planted a lot of these as tiny plants at the end of the year, at the fall. All the rain has knocked a lot of the iris over. Midnight Voyage, it's pretty interesting for blue-black. Looks like more dahlias are coming back here. The bulbs were pretty great here. This is a lot of snowdrop, a giant snowdrop. Gonna have to thin those out a bit. It looks like Storms Brewing or Thundery, that's this darker toned iris here. They're usually the last ones of the year. We're gonna start getting some mutants as it gets really hot. This is, I think, Black Friday. Salvia is coming back. I was happy with how this looked this season though. It's the right combo of things if it's not the right placement. You might ask why the sticks are out. It's because I just left them there when I left the dahlias so that I would try to remember not to plant things on top of them, which did work. Let's see. I think one of these hydrangeas has to go. I think there's one, two. I like the oak leaf. I'm not sure I like this one that's right behind these foxgloves. It's redder, and I'd like to give a little more air. This is Black Panther. I'd like the foxgloves to self-sow more. I'd like the penstemon, and there's actually a tree peony tucked in there. This is one of those newer, smaller butterfly bushes. Planted a trio of roses, planted some peonies in here. Going to be adding a few darker peonies, and just generally, if there's a theme to this, it's pulling things down. If you're unfamiliar, I expanded the borders on both sides last year with cardboard and mulch and started planting in it towards the end of the growing season, you know, a few weeks before frost, and did not transplant things. So I missed transplanting some stuff this year in early spring. Probably not going to do too much transplanting over the summer. So yeah. Or if I do, I'll just have to get used to the fact that they are probably not going to thrive. Let's see. So if you're familiar with the Rose Project, I think all of this year's roses are here. Yeah. Some of them have thrown up a few blooms. Some of them, between the rain and then the heat, they're okay. They're not great looking as plants, but they're doing fine. Looks like we've got a bunch of little buds forming everywhere here. And then, let's see. Oh, these are all the Grace roses. They actually just showed up this week. I think they were in their box for quite a while, so they didn't look great out of the box, but they all look like they're recovering pretty well. All right, and lastly, the plant stash gives me anxiety for sure. So, because Tim's washing my car still, and he will not enjoy being on camera. So I tend to buy most plants, if I can find them, as small as possible. So that's also why it looks like a ton of stuff. I found a Carolina Sweetheart redbud tree that I liked very much. I liked that it wasn't quite as weeping as my Ruby Falls, but I liked how the branches went further down the trunk and it wasn't an upright tree form. That's gonna go somewhere where we saw all the poppies and the darker toned iris and the light, like somewhere between these two beds, probably that side, to give a little contrast in front of the dark red maple. The other trees back there are the fruit trees for the orchard. There's a big lilac, and there's a big 4-trunk hemlock behind everything in a burlap ball that will get planted before it gets too hot. And that's actually going, the plan for this part of the potager border was to find something that didn't compete with the golden cedar and was evergreen, since we have the copper beech, and I'm not sure that smoke bush trio is going to stay there. But like we have sweet bay, evergreen, sweet bay, those are semi-evergreen, deciduous shrub, and evergreen, and this is feeling very open. The 4-trunk, it's a dwarf hemlock. It's gonna go anchor the center. So between, well, let's see what we can see. Where a lot of the veronicastrum is what the tall skinny thing is, kind of between those two pockets of veronicastrum. And hopefully that will get planted in the next week or so. All right, guys, thanks for walking around with me. I hope you enjoyed seeing where things are and seeing some of the before photos and videos. It's certainly not a comprehensive before and after, but it is a project of mine this year to try to get a 5-year recap kind of done at the end of 2024, since it really is quite transformed from where it used to be. Even though it feels like a never-ending work in progress to me, it is quite nice to see the before shots and remind me of how much I've done, and try not to think so much about how much I've spent on plants and effort and all of that. So I am going to start letting you guys know there's going to be a link to the landing page of the soon-to-be new website where you can sign up for the email mailing list to hear about the vase launch. It's just a couple months away now, and a lot of things are starting to finally fall into place. Got the boxes finalized, I'm in a good place. It's not going to be during the summer, but you want to sign up for the emails so you'll be the first people to know about it. You can also catch up with me on Instagram, where I'm making an effort to share a little bit more day to day. I've been doing posts from highlights around the garden, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there. I know I haven't posted a lot. I mentioned at the beginning of the year it was going to be challenging to keep up with like a regular posting schedule, but if this video is easier for me to edit, then I think we can look forward to more in this format. But this was a little longer of a catch-up. But yeah, happy with how it's looking. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.